Hey everybody, Sebastian Maniak here for another edition of orchestrating or automating infrastructure devices with ServiceNow. And just a quick kind of thing, ServiceNow is a software company that provides a cloud-based platform for automating IT management workflows. And within ServiceNow, we have something called the Flow Designer. And Flow Designer is a feature for automating processes in a real single design or a single design environment. It really allows users to use kind of natural language to automate approvals, tasks, notifications, and record operations, and make orchestration calls in this really within a low to no code interface itself. So let's see what we're going to do here. What we're going to do is we're going to build, or we're going to walk you through a self-service portal for deploying VIPs and then modifying those pool members itself. If we take a look at our environment, how it looks like, pretty straightforward. We have ServiceNow running in the cloud. In here, we're going to have our catalogs, catalog items, let's say, to deploy a VIP. And we have this on-prem environment that represents any of your on-prem environments where you have your firewall for the, and then you have your F5 device deployed with some servers on the back end. And we also have this mid server, and this mid server is what's inside of our infrastructure. It communicates to ServiceNow to allow us to execute any changes inside of our environment securely to those devices. So in our case, we're going to send this API call. So what we're going to do is, first thing, we're actually just going to build a VIP, a basic HTTP VIP. Then we're going to see how the flows work for this VIP. And then what we're going to do is we're going to modify the pool members, because that's a lot of things that's happening. Day-to-day changes is adding and removing pool members. So we want to build a mechanism for this. And for all these things to get executed, we're going to actually inject ourselves into the existing change management process. So once we have really our change with all our kind of code and parameters and what we want to do, this is going to go to a review phase. So our engineering team can review what's being changed in the device. Then it is going to go to the kind of this approval phase. So maybe change management, team leads or managers can approve it. And once it's approved, it can get scheduled for a specific time for really the mid server to make those calls or those changes on behalf of what the user intended them to be. So let's see this in action. First thing we're going to do is we're going to deploy VIP. So we have our F5 in here. And there's no configurations on the F5, pretty clean. We're going to click on, what we want to do is deploy a new web app. So we're going to call this, web app. Pretty simple. We can call it whatever we want. Production. We won't use GSLB in this demo, but we can incorporate GSLB. There's certain type of load balancing methods in this demo. I've just built 4. So let's just do SSL offloading in that instance then. And what we're going to actually do is specify the IP address. So we can actually have another flow that actually auto-populates this VIP address. So we don't have to look for it if we want, but in this case, we're going to add it. We're going to add our certs in here. So just from this demo, I'm just going to kind of paste my certs in here. This can also be automatically done. I'm going to just paste the key by using or incorporating Venafi or HashiCorp Vault into the solution. I'm going to paste my cert, paste my chain, and my passphrase or my password for the environment. All right, so it uploaded the cert. The password's hashed out here, or the key is hashed out so we don't see it. We're going to specify, maybe we need a specific TCP timeout. If not, we'll leave it at 300, so 5 minutes. Select the load balancing method for the servers. Let's say we're going to use cookie persistence. WAF, we'll just leave it in learning mode. TCP, so let's just do an HTTPS health check on this device. And then we're going to add all the pool members. So let's go server 01, 1610.11, port 80. And I'm going to add one more server, server 02, 172, 1610, 12 on port 80. So once I'm literally deploying a web application that's doing SSL offloading, I'm going to click on the order button. I'm going to check this out. When I check this out, we can then create that approval and review process. So just because it's in my lab, I'm getting the request. So I got a notification, an email saying, hey, please review this request. I can take a look at what this user requested, has all the information, has the cert information, and even the key is hashed out because we don't want it, or masked, we don't want it to see it, it's encrypted. All the information, which environment, what load balancing method, what are the pool members they're adding. Perfect, it looks good for me. I can approve this change. Now, once I approve this change, this specific request gets kicked off and orchestrated. And we could really take a look at it if we jump into this tab. So this request was created. This rhythm ticket was deployed with all our information. And then we can look at the flow of what actually happened. One, our catalog ticket was sent. Our task, or the ask for approval, was approved. Through my flow process, we selected a persistence profile, so it created it. HTTP and TCP profiles are required best practices, so those were deployed and completed. It created all our pool members, so added the 1, 2 pool members. And we can click on this and dive into it. So it added this information, pool 1 and pool 2. And we can go to our steps and we can see all the configurations that it was added. So you can actually click on here and you can see here's the pool that was created with load balancing and the specific health monitor. And we can scroll down, and some of the other tasks we didn't select layer 4, no load balancing, so it wasn't run. Those flows were not executed. And then we selected SSL offloading, so that flow was executed. We deployed that new cert on the F5 was created, and we deployed that configuration in our deployment. So if we go to our F5 and refresh the page, we see our virtual server web app was deployed. We see our specific profiles, our TCP profiles. It's on the next page here, was created. We see our client SSL cert. We see that the cert that was given to us, web app, was uploaded and updated for us. We used AS3 shared deployments to do this. It's a nice, quick, and easy way. And of course, our pool was created with 2 pool members, and that virtual server is up. So with this flow, it's great because now we can actually provide this self-service portal towards our application team, our business team, to be able to continually build and deploy based on the standards that we have set up. And there's also requests, well, how do we make these changes? How do we orchestrate different, how do we, now update this device? So with that, we created another catalog item that users can use, and we just called it F5 modify pool, because maybe they want to change the pool members. They don't want to change the config. Maybe they want to change the status of a pool member, or they want to add a new pool member itself. So an easy way, we have this web catalog. We can select the F5 device or environment we look at. We can specify a partition. So if we're using AS3, specify that specific partition. If not, we can literally just type in the pool name. And when I click on that, it automatically in real time goes towards the F5, makes an API call, populates this table for me and shows me, hey, server 1 and server 2 are here. They're online, they're state up, and then monitored. But now I forgot, I want to add a new pool member. I'm going to click on the add button. I have add or delete, and I'm going to go server 03, server 03, 172.16.10.13 on port 80. I want its state to be up, session enabled. Perfect. Now, this is the end state that I want this environment to be on. When I apply this or when I order this change, my end state for this web app should be this. So I'm going to do an order. We're going to check this out. Once again, we go through that approval process because it's required, right? We want those change tickets created. We want change management to be happy. We want somebody to review the changes that are going to happen. And here's, we're going to add this server to our mix. So once we click on the approve button, the approve was set automatically right away. Then we can refresh the page and we see now we have our third pool member deployed. So I can go to pool members and boom, there's our third pool member. Really, this allows us to kind of orchestrate that full life cycle, the full process of managing and maintaining an F5 without burdening the engineering team. Say, hey, can you make that pool member change here? Can you make that pool member change there in that configuration? And if we take a look at how this was really built, it's using that Flow Designer. So let's jump into Flow Designer itself. And we can go to VIP deploy. So with Flow Designer, we can build flows, subflows, and actions. A flow is kind of just the flow of how everything works. And then within each flow, we can define some type of action for this configuration itself. And these actions kind of get built into this flow operating model right here. All right, there we go. So that loaded. So if we take a look at that service catalog that I've built here for deploying VIPs, we have a subset of actions that asks us if we select AS3, we get different options. If we select HTTP, we get different options. Basic layer 4, SSL offloading, we get different options in here for us to make changes. So we built this catalog item, and then we apply flows to it. First thing we do is build a trigger. The trigger just is a service catalog trigger. We grab that catalog information, so we build a catalog called F5 VIP deploys, and we inject all the catalog variables. So every deployment or every configurations, if we kind of jump into catalog services here, and VIP deploy, all these questions that I'm asking in that form are literally just variables or variables sets that I have. And inside of Flow Designer, every time I build these variables, I'm just extracting, I'm getting the actual data that I want. Then of course I add an approval process, a review process. This could be really extensive. And then the first thing I do, and you can split this up into many flows and subflows, but I have, all right, first, did the user select if statement? What kind of load balancing type? If I selected AS3, so if we go in here and I select AS3, different things happen. I want it to go into this configuration to upload this SSL cert and loop through that deployment if there's multiple SSL certs. And I want to deploy this action. And if we expand this action, literally all I'm doing is I'm taking the inputs of those variables into an input here. I'm creating a REST API call towards my F5, and I could literally, from those inputs, drag and drop. the management. I don't have to select the management. I can just drag and drop it. I select the mid servers that we have in an on-prem. I specify the path, the method of what's happening. Then inside of the body, I actually have an AS3 template that is templatized based on those variables that I've selected. And all those variables, all I'm doing is dragging and dropping. That's it to build this deployment. Dragging and dropping all of it. So every time I build this AS3 secure HTTPS deployment, it's going to go through this template. So from an engineering perspective, all I have to do is maintain, 5, 6, 7, maybe templates for my operations team or my application teams to be able to get to. And this builds out the entire configuration for it. So if we go back to our flow, if I picked AS3, it finishes it. If I didn't, it goes through the other methods. So let's kind of look through how this works again. So I'm going to build an AS3 F5. I'm going to pick AS3. Let's just call this ServiceNow demo. We'll give it an IP address. It's running on port 443. Let's add our certs in here again. And our key. Like the benefit with this is if we have Venafi or F5 Vault, or sorry, HashiCorp Vault, we can actually incorporate this. So we don't have to actually put in the cert. We can have that fetch that data that we want. Load balancing method, sure, we can have cookie persistence. We can add the pool members. $16, $10. And there's different ways of making this, right? I had what's it called? A table on the other one. I can do a text field on here. However we want, we can kind of customize that. So I'm going to order this. And we got that request number in here. So we have our approval phase. What we can do is if we open this request ahead of time, we go to the rhythm ticket. We see that there's a approval is required in here. Nothing gets happened until that approval gets done, and you can see it's waiting, right? We got the variables. We're waiting for an approval to occur next. So let me get back into my ticket here. I'm going to approve this change. So all my information is in here. Let's approve. Boom, that gets kicked off. We can go back to flow and I can just click on the refresh button and all right, processed. Okay, now it's in progress. It's evaluating the first flow action I have that says if it's an AS3 template, do this. I can just refresh this. All right, perfect, complete, super quick. We can actually take a look at what was deployed. We see the cert, the chain, the key is encrypted. We see a message of success. We can look at the logs and actually take a look at the entire AS3 deployment that was actually deployed in here with, of course, private key encrypted. All right. And we see that once it completed, it ran nothing else because it didn't need to, because that was the if statement we had deployed in here for this AS3 configuration. So we can go back to our F5, click on virtual servers. And now on the right-hand side, we see we have this new VIP deployed ServiceNow demo into our configuration in it. So how we built this, like I said, it's pretty straightforward. We can take a look at this catalog item, and I'll share this inside my GitHub repo, where we're literally just building out some variables of all the questions that we have for that user, creating variable sets, which is like that table that came up, creating specific policies. So if we select AS3, let's hide some options. We don't need the user to see it. We want simple, readable, usable things that anybody can kind of understand and use this self-service portal to deploy an F5 configuration. And in this Flow Designer, if we dive in, so after the AS3, if for some reason we want to deploy the basic load balancer or an HTTPS load balancer, we can create these other statements that, hey, if I want to build a persistence profile, right? If I don't select anything, right, then build a persistence profile. So we can look at the action, and we're dragging and dropping the actual names that we got from what was selected in the catalog. And once again, we're doing the exact same thing every time. We're just making a REST API call towards that device, towards the specific path with the specific body content in here. And we're then just dragging and dropping the names into this device itself. And as we go through this, we want to do production-like things. We want to deploy persistence profiles. We want to deploy an HTTP profile. We want to deploy a TCP profile because we want that application to be isolated to its own objects so we can edit those objects and not affect another application. We deploy those pools. If I go to that pool, we can see all the configuration. And if we go to our actions, we can click on pool, and we see we have more variables getting populated: pool name, monitor name, node name, etc. So with that, what I'm trying to do is really show you a great way that you can use ServiceNow with Flow Designer to create this self-service portal to orchestrate, review, and automate your devices. With that, thank you, and please follow, click the like button, subscribe. I appreciate it.